All right. Hello and all aboard the Lethal Introspection podcast.
Choo
Please keep
choo.
your arms and feet inside the train as it is very cold outside. I'm Matt. That's Jose. He already said something. Here's Anna.
Hello.
And today we watched 2013 Boon Hong Jo. I think I said that name right. Movie Snowpiercer starring Chris Evans and the War Doctor and Tilda Swinton. And and the reason I picked this movie, just as like a precursor to the discussion here, is I just think it's a really cool original sci-fi movie as a
Okay.
baseline, and so that's why it made the list. And then I'll just throw it over to you guys. Hannah, it seemed like you didn't remember much, and Jose, this is your first time.
100% my first time. Yep.
So yeah, what'd you think?
Starting with who? With me?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought the movie was fun. It was a lot more action driven than the philosophical inkling that I thought it was going to have initially. From what I had heard about the movie, I honestly thought that it was going to be a bit more of a thinker than it actually was. Not that I really feel like bummed out about it or anything like that, but the socioeconomic commentary that the movie was trying to throw out felt a little clanky to me. You
Mm.
know, like alongside the whole concept that the what was his name? Wayford?
Wilford?
Wilford? Yeah, that Wilford kept saying about everybody having the preordained space. It just it just didn't make any sense to me the how somebody who is so general, like such a utilitarian, it seems like a very like a very very high functioning utilitarian would think it okay to have like two full carts for nothing but chrono junkies or whatever, like it just doesn't make any sense in relation to the big overarching uh theme of the story to have these like pleasure chambers like dispersed throughout the whole area and have it be that the resources would be so skewed that some people have to live in such a way that they have to pretty much end up eating each other, and then another place just ends up with such high excess.
Well, I think the story given reason anyway for like the tail end of the train is that those people weren't supposed to be there in the first place.
Yeah.
And so that's why he said like when we first got there, we didn't it was just us trapped in a car until we all started having to eat each other. Like they didn't want them on the train at all.
Oh, okay, interesting. So
Yeah.
the train was initially built so to only house the working people that work like that make
Mhm.
the meat and the
Yeah.
fruit and
The
stuff.
the ticket holders, the actual buyers,
Okay.
inners.
See, yeah, yeah. It's the kind of things you miss on your first viewing kind of
Mhm.
situation. But
Mhm.
maybe I still have to indict the movie a little bit because I feel like I tried to pay attention quite a lot, and it didn't feel like it was clear enough. Like it felt very dissonant throughout. Like how this guy would find it again. He would just find it okay to just house junkies like that. Like it's one thing. It's one thing to have it so people in the back, they're like they're pretty much stowaways that you decide not to throw overboard, essentially. But how exactly do you go about like coordinating value to the people in the upper echelons of the train? Because it's like, okay, there were ticket holders 13 years ago. You know what I mean? It's like, how much validity and worth does that ticket even hold now?
I was just
Mm.
gonna say also what does ticket holders mean? Why how would a monetary payment for a ticket when money's not gonna be worth anything pretty soon make any sense?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and is it the situation where it's a dynastic ticket holding, right? Because if it's been 13 years and there's a new batch of kids,
17
essentially,
years. 17.
17, yeah,
Yeah.
then there's a most certainly a brand new like batch and a half of kids and people,
Mhm.
right? It's like, okay, so it's like, so what happened to the original ticket holders? Because you don't see a lot of old people, you know what I mean, in the
Yeah,
upper
there's a
areas of the,
yeah, there
you
were
know,
a few, but
yeah, it's all just a bunch of rich kids, you know what I mean? So is that what it essentially is? That he just because it sounds like he's the kind of guy who believes in meritocracy to a high
Mm,
degree. I mean, this guy's like, you came all the way from the end all the way to the front, you know the entire train, you know what's up,
mhm,
conduct the train now.
mhm.
It's like, yeah, like it just seems so dissonant how that a guy that supposedly is such a 5D chess player with six moves ahead kind of situation would think that to be okay. you
I
know
think like you're really highlighting this, and that's good because I think it might be the case that he is just like a super lucky cult leader.
mm,
Like he would like the way that they sing the songs about him in the classroom
yeah.
make it seem like, okay, this guy thought that the world was going to freeze over and the rest of the world was like, no, the smart ass scientists say that it's fine, so shut the hell up. And he's like, okay, I'll get a bunch of investors, you come with me, we're going to build this fucking train, and I'm telling you the world's going to freeze over, but we're going to live. We're going to
hmm
live. And he was right. Like he lucked out. He just like maybe he's not that smart.
Well, maybe the passengers on the train were more like genetic candidates.
Mm.
But that doesn't make a lot of sense because he said that the people who make the most kids are the ones in the back, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, so
Well,
like,
he said to turn it around. What he said is the back produces a steady stream of kids.
hmm,
And they have to keep the population monitored. It's difficult to do that in the back, I'm sure. But it's probably like some sort of monitoring system. Like you get a ticket and you can have a kid in the front carts.
okay, yeah. So like the Chinese, like one citizen, like one child per couple kind
Yeah,
of situation.
because they use foreshadowing in like the sushi scene when
Mm-hmm.
they're talking about the fish tanks.
Yep.
And they're like, we only eat this. This is only served twice a year because this is all about balance. We have to maintain the proper amount of fish for the size of the aquarium. It has to be sustainable and it can't be too much.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that that's exactly what they're doing within the train.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they're manufacturing revolutions, right? I mean, it just showcases the whole concept of the fact that the Illuminati, as it were, of this train, are actively working and are in cahoots to the degree that, they're pretty much trying to ascend a leader through a ring of fire, essentially.
Yeah. I have to think of like watching this movie makes me, if I'm thinking from the perspective of Wilford or of the upper classes in the train, I have to think of the back of the train as like a randomized resource because that's how they treat it. It takes virtually like it costs virtually nothing to keep the people in the back alive because they're basically fed insects from the train. Water's free because it comes in from the front of the train,
Mm-hmm.
and every once in a while they go back there and grab some people.
Yeah. Yep. To just for entertainment's sake, like with the violinist guy and stuff like that.
Or work, like I don't know, if someone has a heart attack and drops dead and we need somebody to serve sushi to people, you know.
Yeah.
It's very important. Very important job.
I mean, if you're truly trying to keep a balance, you should keep a reservoir because you can't predict people dying.
Yeah. I mean,
Especially
precise
because
to
it doesn't
within
seem
a.
like they ever showed a medical wing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they had a situation where like the guy was like doing dentistry and stuff like that. But
I didn't even see any beds. Like,
yeah,
where do these people live and
that's
sleep?
another really great question in relation to the fact that we never actually saw, yeah, like the abode of like the upper sections. It was just like a cocktail party
But if you
essentially.
saw the train, like in the final scene when it was going off the tracks, spoiler alert, it's way bigger. Like there's a lot of carts that they didn't show
That's
us.
Right.
true. That's true. It is a very very long train. That was very surprising.
And it's a 2-hour movie. Like, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's why they made it into a show. That's why TNT
Mm,
made Snowpiercer into a show because I'm sure that there's a lot to expound on because when you do leave it so short, it is very
mm,
difficult to sprinkle in every aspect of the social commentary that will make the world cohesive, right? Because right now you have to fill in a lot of blanks in order for it to be able to work. And I was really surprised as to the amount of humor that the movie tried to throw, like with Tilda Swinton's character and like just yeah, just the way that dude, the main security guard guy was pretty much like a Terminator, like at the very end of the movie, like it was just
they killed his husband, man. He was all John Wick in it.
I
Like,
guess, yeah. Like, holy crap. Oh man,
yeah, there's a little plot glue here and there you sprinkled
Mhm.
in for sure.
in order to be able to keep the train running all the way through.
Okay, so you had some initial gripes. Hannah, did you on your rewatch here? Because you were asking questions the whole time that I thought, oh, she forgot that part.
Well, I mean, I've only seen this movie once, and it was years ago, and I remembered enjoying it. And I remembered the end of it. I mostly like the kids part. And I remembered the general concept. I will say though, with watching this movie again, if you're just taking it moment by moment, this is so much more of a nail biter than I remembered it as. Like this is an entertaining movie all the way through. Like we'll probably talk about like potential plot holes and potential could have beens for the rest of the podcast. But I just want to like throw out that this movie is very entertaining from front to back.
Aha, funny.
Did-
From back to front.
From head to tail.
From
From tail to head.
Top of the head, yep.
From shoe to hat.
Yeah, honestly, again, I really wish that we would have bloopers so you guys would have been able to been in on my sweet gummer joke in the middle.
Sweet is pretty simple. We'll lose 333.
I think it was pretty good.
That's an easy 100 subscriber loss.
We can afford it now.
Yep, exactly. 100 of you leave. We don't need
Easy
you.
stuff.
Yeah.
Take it back.
Yeah. No, just kidding. Yeah.
Just kidding. Please
Kidding,
stay.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that's why I said the first thing I said was this was a great action movie.
Mhm.
I'm still just very surprised that that's the direction that they went with it, just because again, like I had heard people talk about the movie, not ever watched any of it, you know what I mean, but just kind of understood what supposedly like the subtext and like, you know, the through lines were in the parables and stuff. And I thought they were going to go a little deeper, you know, with that. But in relation to, as you said, the moment by moment, you know, going from the cart situation, it was very tense the entire time.
Yeah.
Only brought down again by the levity that just kind of comes and goes as, you know, as the movie progresses. I get it, you know, because you don't want to just make it like a dark film the entire way through, I guess, you know, but it was just,
Yeah, actually, it was though, right? Like I spent this entire movie grieving, I think, and I didn't even get time to grieve one death of a character until the next death. And it's just this is a movie. Like if you're gonna watch this movie, and if you hadn't already, and if you're okay with all the spoilers, like don't get attached to anyone because this movie will kill everybody with a name.
every single person, yeah.
Almost like with a very slim exception, but
Yona and Timmy
Mm-hmm.
make it out.
Yep. Yeah, you know, and if we're gonna look at it from like the lens of, yeah, like the subtext, like what does that say? You know what I mean? Because everybody went extinct, you know, essentially at the very end. Because even if,
yeah.
even if those two kids are, you know, completely healthy and okay, what difference do they make? You know, like two people does not humanity make really. You know, like it. At minimum, it takes like 10,000, supposedly.
Oh, really?
You
Might I introduce a concept called Adam and Eve?
Yeah, see, but even then, God had to go all magical and make other people, you know, appear out of nowhere in order for them to start having wives.
I don't remember it explicitly saying that anywhere.
Yeah, there's one explicit sentence. It's very strange. It's something like Cain's wife came from somewhere.
Exactly.
west,
Yeah,
or
it was
other
so.
people.
It was just so
Very
hashed.
vague.
Yeah, so hashed out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is just like it was gonna have to be some situation where like the guy is like the door opening guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was hinting at the fact that, you know, there could potentially be pockets of the earth that might be thawing out, you know, or, you know, something or the other. Because it's like, whose word are we supposed to take that the fact that there are no enclaves of humanity left, either underground, you know, or in a place that didn't get 100% snowballed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult because to say, because I mean, if they can stay inside of a train, there's a whole bunch of different. I mean, there's missile silos. There's all sorts of situations.
Just like a random question to
Mm-hmm.
throw out there too. Something that bothered me throughout this is like, if it is the case that the train was purpose built for this situation and it was way over engineered, they even like threw that out in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
No thermostat? No one knows the temperature outside?
Maybe that's a propaganda aspect,
Will
right?
you be
Like
that could be a
monitoring
need to
it?
know.
maybe it's on a need to know basis where you have to maintain everybody under the belief that, like, as the kids were chanting, like, if you go outside, you'll die. So it's like, so you can
Did seem
never,
very propagandy.
yeah, so you can never actually, the temperature outside can never be hospitable, because then that ruins the whole, necessity of the train.
The narrative, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah, but doesn't everyone on the train want to go out and live in the world if that's an option? Because even Wilfred at the end said we're both stuck on this train, basically.
No, but see, that's another aspect of the, like the cult leader aspect that Matt was talking about. Because sure, I mean, like inside of their compound, right? The cult leader could say, "Oh yeah, we're all stuck in here." You know what I mean? Like we're all here and here, we're all in this together. But at the same time, and everybody else isn't the one giving out commands, or the edict that will make it so certain things will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's just like I don't know. I was like so okay with the bad guy, until they started showing those last pleasure cruise aspects of the train, because at first I was like, okay, like it's understandable that some cruelty might potentially come to be necessary if there really is a situation where this guy decided that instead of literally just unhooking the train, right? Unhooking that aspect of the train, be like, all right, bye guys, like we don't need you, and then next year just slamming them out of the way.
Wait. You were okay with the bad guy.
Yeah, until it started showcasing the fact that he has like dance clubs and is like housing junkies for no reason.
Did you watch like the guy whose kid got taken? He threw a shoe and they froze his arm off, and you were still okay with the bad guy at that point? You had no qualms?
Yeah, his administration still seemed 100% okay because
What?
again, all of those guys back there, as you guys said, are expendable. It's like
wait.
every
Wait,
single,
hold on.
every single one.
expendable. Like,
It sounds like you are the bad guy right now.
And that's what I was saying. I was 100% sympathetic to the bad guy because he owns this train, right? He has to make all of
this
the
movie sympathetic to the bad guy.
yeah, because the world was over, right? It's like the ecosystem or like is like that they're enclosed in essentially has to, began supposedly with a particular set of rules in order, and then eventually, slowly but surely, it like devolved itself, right? So I wanted to get into the mindset of the progenitor of this idea,
This is exactly why you're on the podcast.
and initially,
exactly why.
well, the reason I'm on the podcast is because I made this podcast, all right?
This is exactly
But-
why you're of interest to us.
But yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was really wanting to see like the ideology behind the guy that decided to create this train, and like, and I mean, I was 100% okay with the whole brutality that was going through until we meet him in order to be able to understand what it is that brings it to this, to this place. Because we already know that there were multiple revolutions, right? So it's like, so this is a very cyclical thing at this point. And then at the end, we come to find out that it's manufactured. And it's like, okay, all swell and good, but I'm just still wondering, why are you housing junkies at the very top? Like, I just don't get why, perhaps, for example, like if they used the junkies as the foot soldiers with the masks and stuff to like go hatchet people up, that'd make a lot of sense.
Wait,
You know?
so I have like a couple questions then. So are we assuming that the people in the upper carts that are partying, they don't fulfill any tasks? They don't have jobs, they just party all the time.
Well, one can only assume so because they weren't doing anything when we first saw them. I mean, like the people, because running the train is a 24-hour operation, right? Like I'm sure that there isn't because the people that were growing the vegetables were growing the vegetables. The butcher aspect, the abattoir aspect was running still. The teacher was still teaching. Like everybody was still doing what they were supposed to be doing, but apparently the upper classes, all they do is schmooze all day, and then the younger ones go to the dance club, and then the other ones go to saunas. Like,
Yeah, what else are you gonna do?
yeah, I don't know. I guess I just don't understand why he would abide that, especially if he's the type that he's all like everyone's in their preordained position. Like, what on earth kind of preordained position would like a
Oh,
whole boxcar full of those junkies
I
do for you?
I think it's because it's about the number. It's about having a number of people that's able to sustain humanity.
Okay, but wouldn't you want viable people that aren't drugged out though? I mean, like, wouldn't you like maintain some sort of stricture in relation to like your capacity to have children first of all, right?
Non-drugged out people seem like a lot of work. Just look at the tail end, causing all sorts of ruckus.
Maybe Chronol's not that bad. Like maybe it just gets you like a little. Maybe it's
a
like
bomb.
booze.
It functions as a bomb.
I mean, as an effect on a person, maybe like maybe Chrono is not like meth bad. Maybe
looks pretty
Chrono is like
heroiny in the movie.
It looks more methy, really, because I mean, those guys were willing to go all fight each other like the Warriors situation at the very end, like for the Chrono. It's like,
well, that was all the Krolinol. Like they were all like, "Hey, that guy came in and he stole all of the Krolinol." That's all we had. Like,
Yeah, but like
I don't
at
know,
the
dude. If
end-
somebody came through and stole all my weed, I don't think I'd go and like kill them for it. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
no, but all the weed in the world.
all right, now you're talking.
I mean, I'm picking
I'm
up
not
my
a violent
pitchfork.
man, but we're talking about a very limited supply.
I don't know. It looked more like a depressant to me because, like, there's no saying. I mean, those guys had all their chrono stolen a while ago, so they've had some time to sober up. Usually, when the security, the lock guy, and his daughter Yono are doing it, they seem pretty dazed after. if
Yeah,
not
it
just
was even
falling
like
asleep.
opium den-esque.
Yeah.
Opium den-esque.
I will
And-
counter myself in one way. All right, I'm finding means of being able to make things more okay for myself, and I think that one way to do so would be to say the fact that today was actually an exception because it was New Year's.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, the partying makes a lot, but those rooms are still made
But they're
for
still just
partying.
there, right?
Yeah, those are just party rooms.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess I like what you said, Matt, even if it was just in passing of a joke. The fact that you might actually want the upper echelons doled out to a particular degree if you already are having so many issues with the back anyway. It's like, because, the front are both, they're more healthy, right? They have more weapons and they're just more, just ask for more, they're just more demanding really at the end of the day.
Also, I think it's a little bit, especially with it being New Year's. That's a really good point.
Yeah, that's the one. I was like, yeah, like why would that happen? You know what I mean? I was like, that's one thing I can think would make that the specific moment in time the reason why everybody was such a partier. And the reason why I thought that was because they were passing around the booze, you know what I mean? So happy, like, and I only ever see that happen with like champagne on like a New Year's situation where like
Yeah.
everyone, there's like 6 of them just popped out, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, weddings, stuff like
Mhm.
that. But yeah, and it's very possible too that everybody gets strung out or drunk or whatever right before they go over that dangerous ass bridge, because I would.
Oh, 100%. If every single time, maybe you have like the snow cap thing is like a little thicker,
Yeah,
you
a
know?
little bigger. Yeah.
And every
And
time
it probably
you survive
is.
that, party time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, party before and after.
That's like their ball, essentially. Like
Yeah.
every bump is like, oh shit! Oh, yeah!
we're still alive.
Break out the chrono!
Break out the chrono and the fur coats.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, because to be perfectly fair, right? To be perfectly fair to the movie, I don't know how strict life is, on the other 364 days for the upper echelon people as well. Like, it could very well be that they get, just the opportunity to wild out for this one day, in order to, and then maybe business as usual
Yeah,
for
I mean,
a long time.
I really don't think it's necessarily fair to say, because we saw some people strung out, that they're junkies. Like, I mean, some people have seen me on some days that they might have had some labels, but Because it is just like a one time you're walking through that room, whoever's there is there. Like if you saw a bunch of people on cocaine, they might all be addicted to cocaine, or they might be comedians at a nightclub.
You said the same thing twice. Well, I don't get it.
That's fair.
Yeah, so okay, that's good. I'm glad that we're hashing this out for because it's the movie was just it really was just so moment by moment, fast paced, and I'm trying to build a whole world out of what they're showing me today. You know what I mean, and trying to like just backtrack, on what it means to live on this train, and like.
Actually, I do have like a thought though,
Hmm.
because Chrono. I mean, how long have they been on this train? 17 years,
17.
I think they said.
Yep.
Yeah. And Chrono exists on the train still, and it seems like it gets used all the time, and a lot of it exists.
It's a waste byproduct of the train.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is.
It's perpetual. Yeah. If anything, there's probably more chronal now than there ever was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was just thinking, like, if you have a bunch of people on the train and the focus is population, if the drug doesn't do anything majorly harmful, it might just be to keep people complacent. Because the happier people are, the better that's going to be. If they're unhappy, if they feel trapped, if they're struggling, that's when you're going to get more of like a riot from the front side as well.
Right. And as always, they pit the middle class against the lower class. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure all of those guys that were like all suited up in the black vests and stuff like that are probably middle class people because they had they said they had the luxury, they had the economy, and then they had the essentially stowaway people.
Yep.
So.
Oh, and the middle class just gets drafted.
I would
to
imagine
go
the middle
do
class gets drafted, yeah,
work.
and it's like with the possibility of ticketing up,
Or just like, hey, you have to hold this line because if you don't,
they'll murder
So-
you.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
They're
yeah,
gonna
like
kill
how
you
more
all,
incentive
yeah.
do you need? Yeah, like
you don't have a choice actually.
exactly.
questions.
We run out of incentives. Whatever.
Just go. 2 questions for that though. For the middle class when they suit up to go fight the lower class, why ski masks and why
And why over the
impractical
eyes?
ski masks with just the mouth out? Is it so you can bite your opponent?
Yeah, tough to say.
Because that was confusing for me. Because half of the ski masks had holes for eyes, and half of them just for the mouth.
Yeah, I don't
Any
get it. It
theories?
was a very interesting design choice, and especially because they made it so you were led to believe that they could see out of the masks.
There's
Like,
no
there's
way.
no way.
It looked too thick.
I'll say it again.
like
Out
it
of
was
all of the
knitted.
uncanny things in this movie, that is by far the most uncanny. All right, like
Okay, I can't defend that one.
No.
I believe that they can see, and I want to know who made that
I am
decision
cranking
and
my gears
why.
inside, thinking of good justifications for everything about this movie, and that's the one aspect that I just do not get.
I don't even have an idea. Like usually I have something to throw out there. I have
Especially because
nothing.
afterward they put on night vision goggles on top of their ski.
God damn, dude.
Yeah, like holy shit.
What
That's
a
4D
ridiculous
chess.
disadvantage. Well, and somebody for sure planned that because there was like 50 of them too.
And there was
they put it over, and that was never.
The only person that I saw with a good ski mask was the one black guy in the like in the group of like black clad people,
Mm-hmm.
and like he actually had like the appropriate like opening right here, and like I don't understand why they couldn't just do that for everybody else. Like
I just.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why only mouths? Wouldn't you even just cut holes so you could see, like, for your eyes?
Yeah. Maybe maybe hopefully someone someday will listen to this and maybe they'll link us to a mask, and they'll show the fact that you actually can see out of those masks just fine.
Yeah. Or
Which,
just,
if that's the case, I want one of those because that's a sweet balaclava. If that's the case, I mean, holy crap.
because you can eat and keep your whole face warm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the part
We're
that gets nasty is the
Minnesotans,
mouth part of a balaclava. You know what I mean? So it's like if I can see just fine,
Yeah. If anybody who listens to this has any ideas, please just
Yeah, because I
just
mean, I
drop
don't want to
ideas
shit on
in
the
the
movie. It
chat. We
just
have
like
nothing.
this.
I
Yeah,
don't
this is
want
such a
to shit on them.
this is such a small thing to like gripe on, but I mean, like it really like I was
Okay,
like, what the fuck?
Okay,
almost
but
certainly Jose does want to shit on the movie, just not about this. He has better reasons.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to slowly. I'm trying to put up the my automatic niggles and then just try to see if I can work backward on them.
Oh yeah.
masks aside, though, that scene was fucking sweet,
It was
Mm-hmm.
very
like
stressful.
brutal, intense. Yeah, when the night vision came on after the lady said like 70% of you're gonna die or 74% you're gonna die, and like she was probably
She
pretty
said
right,
precisely.
precise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was very harsh, very
And
cool.
yeah, and Curtis having to choose between capturing her and
Mm.
saving Edgar was super brutal.
I would have liked it if God damn it, Winford, was that his name?
Wilford.
Wilford. There you
You'll
go.
get it.
Yeah,
We got,
eventually.
Like,
Yeah,
another
we have
30
all
minutes
night.
at least.
I wish
Panacuda?
Wilford would have been a junkie too. Because
Mm.
supposedly, like they hinted in the movie that Chronote has like the capacity to make you clairvoyant, or at least make you see more than you should, kind of
Mm.
situation. And I was really hoping, this was a kind of sad that they didn't go along with what I thought, that like eventually you would come to find out that the reason why he houses all these junkies is because he's also trying to find like talent, like gifted people, what I mean, that can use the Chronote in order to be able to
Like Yona.
clairvoy, and he's like the ultimate clairvoyant. Like he's in front of the train, conducting the train, just fucking huffing the shit out of this stuff and actively making it so like that's so he needs to, like the train is actively moving all of the time, and the waste byproduct comes to his office first, and then it like dispenses outward from there. Like he gets like the most high quality Chronote, and then from there just trips out in order to be able to know how to take care of the train appropriately, and like what measures to take and what revolutions to continue.
That would actually make more sense because initially when I watched this movie, I thought like that person is just clairvoyant, and that's weird that this is otherwise pretty human, but we just have one clairvoyant person. That
That's
is
what I
just
was
part of
saying when
life.
it came to me wanting to be in the shoes of the bad guy. Like I want to see what his power was, or like what his capacity was to be able to make it to be like, okay, this is the way things have to be, you
But
know?
I have to assume there might be other people who are clairvoyant just because the first door that Yona says don't open, and people are behind it with like axes fully prepared for a fight. How did they know?
And that's what I'm saying. It almost feels like
Well,
they
because it
kind
was
of gave up on that.
orchestrated, right?
Hmm?
Because the
Yeah,
revolution
because it was triggered.
orchestrated.
Yep. But like, what
The
have they
plan
been
was-
there ever since? Just waiting?
No, the plan was that they were gonna get pushed back from there. They'd take the survivors and go back to the end cars or whatever, or at least that's what Wilford claims. So.
Right, but how did they know
did
when
the little
they
girl
would
know?
rebel?
Hmm.
How did they know when the tail end would rebel?
Gilliam. Gilliam was the mole, so to speak, for Wilford.
So disappointing. Why did he
Mhm.
cut his arm off if he's a mole?
Yeah.
He's a really good mole. He's the best mole.
He's super dedicated. He's the best mole.
Yeah, honestly, that's
passionate
not.
about his mole position.
Yeah, that's another thing that I maybe you guys can help me. Like, what would motivate Gilliam to fall in line like that?
Preserving the
Yeah.
human race.
You think so? You think
Yeah.
that he was shown the way that Curtis was shown right now? You know what I mean? And being like, listen, like here's the skinny, essentially.
Mhm. Yeah, you said don't let him talk. Cut his tongue out
Mm-hmm.
because he
Oh,
knew.
he didn't want him to know.
Yeah, he knew if Curtis knew, then Curtis would be like, "All right, fine, I'll drive this stupid train."
That's a fair point. So it's like, yeah, because it could be double bladed in that way, right? It could, in the sense that like, he doesn't want his secret out, and he also doesn't want him to be persuaded into becoming the conductor.
Well, and also, if Curtis knew that was all being orchestrated, he would probably be more inclined to burn the shit to the ground. Whereas, like, Gilliam was always telling him, like, you're a leader. You've always been the leader, like
Mhm.
instilling that. And if he kept him on that path without any major interruptions, if he had just shown up and, killed Wilford right away, he might have taken over the train. kept it
Do you
going.
think that Gilliam's desire was potentially just like incremental change in that way? Like he's essentially the trained moderate in that way, in that he decided to be revolutionary initially, got crushed super fucking hard, but was still shown behind the curtain, by the powers that be. And because of that, he's like, okay, well, I obviously don't like side with you, but I understand like your hyper utilitarian way of thinking, and how we are in a very dire situation as a species, so we need to kind of continue this. So when he like grooms Curtis in that way, he's hoping that he can pretty much make a better Wilford in that,
Very
He's like
aptly said, I think.
because
Yeah.
he's like, you've tasted baby, you know what I mean? So it's like we can only hope that if you become the conductor, you'll try to make it so others don't have to go through that same baloney as well.
Well, and he's the one putting in the recommendation for Curtis. Like I'm sure, is trying to pick a person that's like a good person.
Okay,
Based on what we know about Curtis, he knows him very well. They've been together for 17 years.
That's really good. I like that. The concept of the disillusioned revolutionary.
He selected him.
Yeah, who subvertly grooms the next power that be. But to always have that like revolutionary edge to him. You know what I mean? So.
Mm-hmm.
Although he might have just been looking for, because Wilford said it, he was like, look what people are without a leader.
Yeah.
And that's what Gilliam was saying earlier too. He was like, you're already the leader. Like, well, whether you want it or not, people are following you.
Mm-hmm.
So it could just be that too, natural leader capacity.
Well, at the end of the day, it wasn't really so much a natural leader capacity in so far as him wanting to redeem himself, right? Again, he tasted baby, and so because of that, he wanted to be able to find some means of either redemption or having it so something could supplant, that level of negativity. Like I have to do something so positive for everybody around here that it can maybe wash away the stain of this baby dripping down my chin.
Oh, good God.
The fucking visuals, man.
I mean, he said it tasted great, so I mean,
because like I have to think that to some capacity, he probably helped raise Edgar.
yeah.
And like, how do you look someone in the eye every single day that you originally looked at as food and were trying to eat?
Who knows? Some days must have been hard.
Yeah, we can't ever tell them.
Yeah, some days must have been quite hard. Some days might have been like those old school marooned Hanna-Barbera cartoons where the guys are looking at each other and they become like hams and stuff like that.
You like tapped into a closed part of my brain for a minute.
I'm sure we all watched the same exact cartoon. That's thinking about the exact same maroon guy biting into that guy's leg.
I can't place it. I know I've seen like 2 or 3 at least.
Yeah, that's a pretty good trope.
It's it's gone. It's extinct.
People don't get marooned like that anymore.
Yeah, that's not a cute like thing anymore.
Okay, so that certainly does help, even out some of the more bumpy aspects that I first thought in terms of the movie. Yeah, it's a lot more cohesive, than I, gave it credit for right away as I was done, And it's unfortunate, I feel, that sometimes, like not everybody has the ability to be able to hash out a movie for 30, 40 minutes as needed in order to be able to have the things that might have flown, over your head, you might have missed or something like that, or somebody else, caught a line that you missed or something.
Oh yeah, the collaborated on answer is usually better than anyone's individual answer.
Yeah.
I just want to take like one moment too and just say Tilda Swinton's performance in this, unsurprisingly, is fabulous.
I think her
So
best. Legitimately, I think this is her best performance that I've ever seen. My personal favorite, anyway.
Ooh, I'm kind of.
Well, you mentioned earlier, and I'm curious, as a question for both of you guys, would you play the Snowpiercer video game?
Is there?
No.
No, too stressful.
But would you play it?
I don't play stressful video games. This movie, like I held my hands on my face for a while.
Yeah.
As long as at the end they don't, I mean, they actually give me more than one ending. You know, like that's the
Well,
only way that
like
I
if
would
you
be able to
don't choose
work.
that.
It's like, yeah, like you. I'm okay with like an ABC ending, you know, where it's like you choose to usurp Wilford, you choose to destroy the train, you know, or you
That's
choose.
what it is. And it's a roguelike, so
Also, like, can we
It's
talk
short.
about that in general for a minute? Because we talked about a little bit at the beginning that this movie feels like a video game, and we're like, it's because it's compartmentalized.
Yeah.
But no, there's more than
Tee-hee.
that. The
yeah.
dialogues
That was a good pun, damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dialogues in this movie feel like video game breaks because it's just tension, tension, tension,
Yeah.
and then a stop
And
for
it just
dialogue.
rests. And they're just like,
Mm.
now we're resting.
Yeah,
Mm.
and during the axe fight, when it got into the night vision, that looked exactly like a video game. It was like POV from the night vision guy, like hack and slashing.
Yeah.
Like, I think they did some of that on purpose. I don't think that's just me.
Oh yeah, and that super bald guy that went shooting people, he looks like a straight up NPC character, like
He totally looks it.
like the most base value asset kind of situation.
The real
like,
convincing evidence
Yeah.
right there.
all you have to do is T pose, and he pretty much would give
Yeah,
himself away.
T-pose.
Yeah, he ate an entire hard-boiled egg. He
Yeah,
just popped it
oh,
in his mouth.
like a
Real
fucking
humans don't do
anaconda,
that.
yeah.
He's a
Only
literal
like
egg
a
sucker.
fucking anaconda. Oh, god damn it. Like, as soon as you see someone do that,
Yeah, stay away.
be suspicious
Yeah.
that they're an NPC.
You know
That
what's-
person kills people.
You know what's a bummer though is the fact that so the next revolution would have been it, right? Because they used it seemed like they used up all the bullets this time.
At least closer to
At least
it,
closer
right?
to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're only like 5, 2 more revolutions away from actually being able to be completely done.
It's like near automata, but at the very, very end, you can crash the train.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blow it all up.
Yeah, that'd be cool as a video game if at the end you could choose to either fight or to take over the position as the train runner.
Mm-hmm. Or try to
Not
figure
train.
out some sort of like New Vegas-y like independence kind of situation, right? Where it's like
Mm.
you have like a council of people, right? And it's like, okay, now we're gonna make it so it can be as egalitarian as possible. So hey, how about no more fucking opium dens? You know what I mean? Like
That
we could
sounds like-
probably use up one cart extra. Like,
That sounds more like Blade Runner, the video game 2, Civ style. Like you speak to the leaders of each compartment of the train.
yeah.
I, for one, will keep my constituents happy by allowing one opium train cart.
Well,
But if
listen.
the people live in that, then only one group of people get opium.
No, that's just where you go to use.
Hmm.
You go to the den.
Does everybody
You hang
get
out.
tickets, or do they just all get to like cram in there and do opium?
Yeah, because
all the
who
time?
works aside from the vegetation people, right? It's like who
That's what I'm
keeps
confused
amassing
about.
more value, you know what I mean, as a person.
That's what I think is like, I think people must rotate jobs or something because those things probably have to be done most of the time.
Hmm.
And it's like nobody's working 24 hours a day. We're
Right.
probably rotating out. Not the sushi guy, because obviously sushi
Yeah,
is
he's
a
the
very
best.
refined skill.
Yeah.
He works 1 day a year.
Yep.
Or 2 days, rather. Yeah.
And then the rest of the time, it's the high life, baby.
But like
Scroll
feeding the
down.
fish, cleaning the tank, that kind of stuff, that probably rotates out.
True.
Or there are at least a few people that rotate out, and maybe the other ones are, what did you call them? Junkies.
Healthy constituents.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, again, it's New Year's Eve. I mean, it's New Year's, right? I'm not gonna judge people how they look on New Year's. You know what I mean? For
I
the rest
hope
of
not.
for the rest of the 364, not most certainly not. And I do wonder, right, if it's like, maybe today is just the day to get fucking strung out, right? It's like, when's the next time we'll get the chance? Like maybe they pass around the crow note, you know what I mean, during New Year's, and then at the end, they take it back.
That's why I like to think of Chronol as more of like a party drug and not like a meth, because it seems like that. It seems more casually accepted
Right. And that guy, the door guy, right? He used to be a front ender, right? I mean, because
Probably,
first of
yeah.
all, he talks shit about tail end people. He calls them tail end pigs, right? So
Yeah, to the very end of this
yeah,
movie.
and he was just put in like like isolation, and like solitary confinement.
Yeah.
It seemed like because he became a junkie. Like maybe that just isn't like the norm,
They
like
probably put him in there because he designed all the locks. I probably
Exactly.
would.
Well, that
mm,
was my
Like,
that's what
he's
I
a
was
real
thinking
big
too.
risk.
why not just kill him then?
Mm.
It
Yeah.
just
In
I
case
mean,
we
sure,
need him
plot
because one of the locks
plot-
breaks.
Yeah, in case one of the locks are- All right, wake him up. Get him in here.
That's fair. Like all of those, every single one of those little cubbies is for the first like foundational people that like created the engineering of
Yeah,
the
built the
train.
shit.
Or, like,
yeah.
the daughter makes sense too because she's a clairvoyant. Like, she's a big risk to have rolling around, but if we want a clairvoyant, we got one in a cubby.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good.
So do you guys think that Curtis dropped the ball at the end there? Like,
no, he dropped his arm.
He finally got his wish.
Yeah. He's a leader now.
I'm a leader now.
I think Curtis reacted very emotionally
Mm.
at the end. Because, like, even when he jammed his arm in there to get the kid, I was like, there's not any immediate danger to the kid right now.
Yeah.
There
if
might
anything,
be
he's the
5
safest.
other ways to get them out of there. Why sacrifice your arm for that right now? Why? Especially, like, you can do all that. You can take over the train and then get the kids out and then crash the train if you want to. Like, what?
Because that's just not as fun
Or
as
turn
getting
it
your
off
arm
so you
ripped
don't
off.
kill everybody and then you can try to start like a society. Like, I felt like the decisions at the end of the movie weren't good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
my
I feel that they
opinion.
were very rushed.
Yeah, a little.
I wouldn't stuff like, I wouldn't like, oh, I'm jamming my arm in here to get this kid out who's like strung out on something and not listening to me. Like, just because you can peek in there, that could just be like a maintenance hole because they didn't used to shove kids in there. Like, there's probably other ways to get the kids out. While he had his arm jammed in there, another one left through a much clearer exit door to the inside of the engine. Like, I think that
Well,
was a
he just
really
popped
bad
out
decision.
because he was needed, right? I don't get it. Like,
Yeah, it
did
was
the
time
other
to go
kid
to work.
expire? Like, in there, like,
They just put one in, and when it opens, you got to put
you gotta
another one
put
in.
another one. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a battery cell, essentially.
It runs off kids.
I was
man.
really, really glad that I was right in that the engine runs on 5-year-olds because I
You-
was like,
you
oh, that
called it.
has to be it, right?
To me, the obvious decision in that situation is being like, yes, I'll run the train. Because for sure, then you have the most control to do anything. And you don't owe this fucking guy anything. Like, he hates Wilford. Like, just accept the responsibility and then start scheming. Right?
But it's a situation where he has to become Wilford, right? Because he can't be Curtis. Like there actually can't be a shifting in power. Like it will just be a situation where the orders come from Curtis Wilford now, and everything has to essentially stay as a status quo.
Yeah, so no one will know after
Because
he accepts the responsibility and then surprise kills Wilford and then changes everything.
yeah, but that's the thing about power structures, right? It's like you can't really change everything. Like I was talking about how, softening my idea of why things are so cushy at the front, right? It's like I'm sure that those people just became accustomed to that way of living. And at this point, it's like he is only one guy at the end of the day. So it's like he has to pretty much you know, like cater to his constituents,
Yep.
And what else can he do aside from allow them to, be as they are initially?
Yeah, I just mean in comparison to the route that he chose, where he like reached his arm into the engine and raised hell. Like, I think he could have taken a slower approach.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. That was 100% symbolic and it was a little clunky.
Well, and it's because he promised the mom that he'd find him or something like that, but he already found him. Like,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
honestly,
Oh, there he is.
holy fucking shit! I just
Jumped on.
cannot believe that those two kids survived that
I
crash.
don't know if
Mm.
that other kid survived the crash, the redheaded one, because he got into the front. We didn't see him again. Oh, you mean Yona?
Yeah, between those two, I was like,
Mm.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
Well, they were still on the track at least.
yeah, that's true. But like, they were like right next to the explosion.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like if the thing reverberates backwards, it's like they should have been hit the worst. Especially because they don't have any burns on them or anything like that. Like
Well,
they
they
don't have
were-
singed hair.
They were hugged in a human sandwich
Okay.
with Curtis and her. Hey, man, that's the lead refrigerator. All right.
The power of love kept them both
Yeah.
nice and safe.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
It's pretty.
But yeah, I think a lot of people, because it showed like quick cut scenes too, a lot of people died after the explosion because the end of the train was detached. So it didn't have like a clear driving force pulling it anymore. So I don't know. The explosion itself might not have been that big, but I mean, I don't know. If I'm saying that, I can't really explain the other people's deaths in the.
So what do you guys think? Humanity extinct? Not extinct?
Oh, for sure extinct.
Well, they made a TV show, but I'm guessing that's like a prequel situation, right?
Possibly. I don't know. I just know that there is.
Otherwise, like, why even call it Snowpiercer? Like, that's the whole. That's like the train. I mean, that's not the name of the train, but that's like the name of the movie because it's
Yeah.
a train piercing snow.
The train
right?
name was like the Rattling Ark or something like that, which I
Mm.
thought was kind of cool because it's like a callback to like a Noah's Ark type thing when all of humanity is dying.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh,
it's
being
the
murdered.
rattling
Yeah.
one. Yeah, being well, in the Snowpiercer situation, not necessarily being murdered.
Yeah,
No
probably extinct. Well, the fact that there's polar bears, and like you had said earlier on, that there's very likely could be, I'm reminded of the line from The Matrix of Zion deep down near the Earth's core where it's still warm. That's what Tank says to Neo when he's describing Zion in the first Matrix. So that was my thought too, is very possible there's pockets. It's really hard to kill all of the people, right? Even
Yeah.
with inclement weather, just natural disasters, whatever.
Well, and the train was probably really boarded in one place, so they don't know what the
Yeah.
temperatures
Yeah,
were
it's
all over the
propaganda,
Earth.
right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if you look at the map of the train, like, yeah, it goes around the world, but it's not like it goes everywhere in the world, right? So
Yeah.
it's like for all we know, like it could be a cult leader situation where maybe they could have gotten off the train, or there was like a particular section where like there's the shortest amount of distance to arable land or something like that,
Yeah.
But at this point, it's like, no, we're in a closed ecosystem, and everyone is in their preordained spot,
Yeah,
So-
maybe the seven, what did they call them? Maybe they let them stop the train at where they knew it was the coldest on the planet at that moment. Let them be a signal to everybody
Yeah.
else.
That's exactly what it seems like. It's like they're a symbol of the necessity for the
Yeah.
train
Yeah.
and the uselessness in trying to make your own way in any type in any.
Yeah, or
Wait.
maybe they tossed those people off the train and then they made up a story to teach the children.
That's great. I like that even more. Like, that's way more fucked up.
Oh, you like that?
The only reason I wouldn't say that's true is because the chrono door guy says that he knew the Inuit lady who was at the front of the line.
Oh, yeah.
And she made the conscientious decision to going out there because she's like, oh, we can make it.
Well, maybe she was a nutcase, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. You got any like parting thoughts before we go to ratings?
Polar bear at the end. Who's happy to see a polar bear?
Those kids aren't going to be very soon.
They were
They're not
for a
going to be
minute.
happy that the polar bear saw them. That's for sure. Because that polar bear turned around, snapped quick, real quick.
I
Oh,
was like-
what's that?
Ooh.
Well, also that train is full of dead people. You're gonna have a whole polar bear problem pretty soon.
Oh, 100%.
Parade of polar bears.
Especially because, like the only thing that those kids could possibly do is like backtrack somehow and try to see if they can find the carts with the food,
Yeah.
see if they can find any survivors. But nah, shit looks grim.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, because you would have to, I mean, you'd have to eat the people in the train probably. Because they only had a couple carts.
So in terms of like,
You either eat them or you load them out and expect nature not to come looking for you.
yeah, and in terms of the meta parable, what does it say? Right? There's no hope. Like,
Basically.
like
Or
we will continue down the path of destruction of our climate, and then hastily try to reverse course, which won't work. And then the small pocket might be able to make it for a decade and a half, at which
Wow.
point they will just self implode
Mhm.
essentially. All right, I get that. Cool.
Pretty on the nose, I'd say.
On the nose
I know,
for
right?
sure.
Which, I mean, when I say it like that, it just makes me think of Mother, and I don't like how the blatancy of it. But it isn't as
Mhm.
bad. It isn't nowhere near as bad.
It doesn't take itself as serious.
No,
for
no,
sure.
no. I mean, yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it isn't as grandiose, I feel,
Mhm.
with the whole situation. Like, it's still pretty grounded, like I can still see the situation happening to somebody as opposed to just it being, a parable itself.
Mhm.
Like, it's a good mix of both. Yeah.
Better than Platform.
Then in terms of socioeconomic distinctions,
Yeah.
yeah.
And portrayal and
Just because you classified it like that, better than Platform overall, too, right?
I mean, there's a lot more going on. Yeah. I mean,
mm.
like, when there's a lot more going on, there's a lot more possibility to get it wrong, and they didn't. So it's like, like all the while, the minimalism of the platform like only worked to showcase more of the glaring plot holes in it, because the more moving parts in this one, although there might be plot holes, like I can think of the possibility that something else might cover it, like the whole, okay, it's New Year's, like maybe these people do work on rotating shifts, like maybe Chronote is passed around as a means to subdue the upper echelon, so then we only have revolutionary issues on one side of the train. Like there's a lot of things to be said that can patch what might be a perceived plot hole in this movie. While in the platform, it's so scant in its world building that I'm left bereft of anything, like except knowing that that guy likes to smoke. That's pretty
Obviously.
yeah. And likes to read books like an idiot.
You fucking what you read
What a
for?
chump.
Yeah.
So yeah, this good, platform bad.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
I do have one more parting thought. I think the beginning of this movie is hard to get into. Like, I think the beginning of this movie is corny, I guess. Like, right away when it opened up, I felt myself kind of eye rolling a little bit.
Yes.
Just because it was like this dialogue was like, okay, well, this guy's clearly the expert, because he was like, not yet. And it's like, this guy has a plan.
Yeah,
I felt like that was really plated up for me.
they've tried to veil the exposition dumps in the dialogue.
Yep.
As best they possibly can, but sometimes it's just like, no, listen, we just gotta tell you,
like to tell you this is the main
tell you this
character.
little tidbit real quick, so it all kind of makes sense,
This is so you won't be arguing over this an hour and a half from now.
And yet here we are.
Nice try. Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, Hannah, second viewing, what'd you think?
4.
Giving it a 4?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I think like that's what I have to say about this is what I said at the beginning, just to come full circle here. This movie is deeply entertaining. It's super tense. It didn't spare my feelings in like losing characters, which I tend to appreciate because a lot of movies are afraid to do that. But yeah, there were also parts of this movie and things like plot holes and things just like general corniness or trying to cram it into 2 hours that I think lost the end point for me. I could be convinced up to a 4.5, but probably not a 5.
Solid. Jose?
Yeah, I'll probably go with the 4 as well. It's a memorable enough movie. Like I said, the action was very, very high paced. It was high caliber for sure. Um, the the social commentary aspect wasn't as stilted as I first initially thought it was. Now that we've actually been able to digest it and like really try to work through what the hierarchy and modality of the train was, like, I'm liking it a lot more. Again, I wish that the antagonist would have had just a bit more to him. You know,
Hmm.
he just had like he was very tropey too. Like he was just like the very arrogant, like engineer slash creator at the very end, but he didn't have like anything special per se about him. Like I never got any inclination that he was a genius other than like the being told that he made the train. And even then, as you pointed out, like although it's an inference, right? Like for all we know, he could have just been the money man or the idea guy in order to be able to finance the situation and then have somebody else build the train,
Hmm.
and now, you know, I would feel that it would be quite on brand for this guy to then make it so then he makes it seem like he's the one that built the whole thing by himself.
He said he'd never been to the back.
Yeah, he's like,
How
how do
build
you?
the train, but you've never been in the back?
Thank you. That's a perfect point. Yeah, that sounds exactly like the kind of guy who just kind of puts his name on the front of things after they're built, and then makes it seem like he was there from the beginning.
Mm.
Yeah, I would have liked a better villain in that way, but I mean, you work with what you got. At least they got a great actor.
Yeah.
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 The ending was a bummer, which I always love.
Love a bummer.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm always down for a great bummer. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it just seems like everyone's screwed. So yeah, 4 out of 5.
Beautiful.
Everyone's screwed. Automatic 4 out of
4
5.
out of 5.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I I don't really have much to add or take away from what you guys said. I super memorable, very much like a video game action movie. Solid actor, actress choices, cool scenery, cool set piece.
Yeah.
Solid. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah,
We're
I
picky
really
too,
did.
so 4 out of 5 is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We really enjoy this movie.
Yeah. Then we go back to the beginning. Well, this is always fun. Glad to do it. Glad to watch these sweet ass movies again and make you
for
watch
sure.
them.
I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, like if I would have just watched this casually for myself, I might have not liked it as much as I do now, having talked about it, because I might have stuck with the clunky social commentary aspect of it too hard. You know what I mean? And not let the other part shine inside of my head as I'm letting him do right now. So yeah, I mean, there's always just so much merit to having these conversations.
You always, I think, refine my view of movies with that, because you have like a hyper ability, I think, to see the social commentary right away. I have a habit of ignoring it completely and just experiencing movies moment by moment.
Well, I was super
But-
uncomfortable with two white guys telling each other that they're the leaders of the world, and now the old white guy telling the young white guy that now he's got to watch over everybody else. Like, oh, okay. Like, damn. Thank goodness this was made by an Asian guy, because he can see what he's doing.
Yeah. He's like, no, I did that on purpose.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you made us all uncomfortable there, bud.
Yeah, and Chris Evans.
Yeah.
The quintessential.
Yeah, the
white
apple
guy.
pie white guy.
The
Yeah.
apple pie.
He's fucking Captain America. Yeah.
Captain America. God damn it. Yeah. No, that's.
He was
but-
about to Hail Hydra the shit out of that guy, though. I mean, like,
But that is like a thing that I appreciate, because I tend to ignore that and just work through movies. And like, I really like this movie, and the conversation after it, I'm like, yeah, there is social commentary in here that's clunky. And the same thing happened with Mother, blaringly so with Mother. You pretty drastically changed my opinion of that movie. So it's a good balance. I think this is a good exercise for all of us.
yeah, well,
With that, thanks as always for listening. Everybody, have a great night. We'll see you next time.
yeah, good night, everybody.
Good night.